Sorry about that. It's always a bit weird, that noise. So can you feel your sitting bones as you come to sitting? So that means we don't want to kind of roll back, so we move sort of beyond the sitting bones, more towards the tailbone, nor do we want to come so far forward that we're sitting on the flesh of the thighs. Well, we will obviously a little bit be putting weight into the thighs, but so you're more almost like poised on your sitting bones. And then you can kind of press down through your sitting bones and perhaps get a sense of uplift in the front body. And we're just going to turn the palms up, something a little different. Turn the palms up, and you can press lightly the back of the hands into the leg. Maybe straighten up the arms a little and see if that helps you get a sense of being more upright without any straining or labouring, so it should feel quite light. You can close your eyes or lower your gaze. Bring your awareness now into your hands without looking at them. And of course, you'll be very familiar with the skin and the bone and the cuticles and the kind of more material or aspects of the hand. But we're going to see if we can sense the inner life of the hand, the subtler qualities. Maybe there's a sense of movement, perhaps a little rhythm or a pulse. Tingling. And in the practice of yoga, we want to be able to have a sense of the gross and the subtle body. And practice is taking you more into the subtle body. It's not that it's a better experience necessarily, but it's the fuller experience, maybe. Maybe that's the way of putting it, in the sense that you're tuning into the stuff that perhaps you drown out in your daily busy life. And the term in yoga is prana, the sort of energetic body. The breath is also called prana. So going to just rest your hands palms down, and then pick up the left leg. So lift the knee and hug it up quite high if you can, and don't hunch up the shoulders as you do this. So we want to get that a decent sense of lift, but not at the expense of the shoulders. So can you make a conscious effort to sort of roll the shoulders back and down, and perhaps stretching across the collarbone. You could even maybe squeeze your shoulder blades in towards the spine a little bit. And then we're going to cross the foot over the knee. So it's a version of pigeon, slightly gentler. And we're going to bring our hands around the joint, the knee joint, and we're just gently pressing the knee joint away with a little bit of flexion in this foot. So if you ever have knee problems, a bit of flexion in the foot, always good for this sort of pose. And then let's just experiment with that. Try and sit evenly in, so that you're not don't float over to one side, try and keep that even weight. And then maybe you can lean in a bit, depending on what's going on with your hips. You could perhaps rest your arms on the leg. And hold this and breathe. And there's potential for going a lot deeper if you want to. So that could be bringing your hands down towards the floor, sort of dropping down a little bit. So it's more of a forward bend, but it's not, just keep it gentle if you're not wanting to go there quite yet. Well done. So I'm going to come up and we're going to just pick up the knee again, and we'll just explore taking this leg out to the side. You can keep the foot quite flexed again for the knee. See where that goes. So this is where we're going to bring it down. So we'll take that warrior position that I showed you a minute ago. So I do need something under my foot because my foot doesn't quite come low enough. So so this left foot is pointing completely the other way, and then we're going to shuffle the back leg away. So ideally we want the heel of the front leg in line with the arch of the back leg, and the hip bones point forwards evenly, ideally. I know it's easier said than done. Now I'm aware that this is, can be quite strong on the hips, so just be gentle. It does help a little bit to take the right sitting bone more off the chair if you're finding it very strong, rather than sitting both sitting bones on the chair. You can then rest the thigh more on the front thigh on the chair, and the back leg is completely free. So it's just a way of practicing the alignment of the thigh being level without having to hold that up yourself with a bit of support. So really press back into the little toe edge of the back foot. It usually happens that the foot kind of lifts up in this pose, and then press down equally into both feet. And although they're not going to go anywhere, you're going to sort of pull back with the feet without it. So I think they call it isometrically moving them backwards. So you're kind of resisting the forward movement by pulling back, but there's no actual movement. It's more of an energetic inner feeling. And then we can take the warrior arms. So the warrior arms for this warrior are shoulder height. Turn your palms up for a moment so that your biceps turn. Just make sure that you're not hunching up in your shoulders. Can you drop your shoulders? Feel your shoulder blades. Press gently in through the inside of the shoulder blade, and then turn the palms down and try and keep that uplift of the upper arm. And you look along the middle finger of that left hand. So there's a lot going on, a lot to think about. Hopefully the chair is making it more manageable so that you can keep all those components working together. Feet pulling back towards each other. Fingertips reaching away. Biceps turning up. Gaze along that middle finger. Well done. And then let's relax. And you can just come back to sitting with your feet in front as we started. So hope that's okay. Hope that was okay for you. Just pausing for a moment so you can get back into that sense of the subtle body. And then we'll pick up the right leg, or the opposite leg. So we're lifting quite high, as high as you can, but not the shoulders. The shoulders are dropping. And then we're going to bring this foot over the knee. So it's deceptive, this. It doesn't look like a lot's going on, but actually it's quite intense. The hands coming around the knee joint. A little bit of flexion in the foot. So we're gently moving the knee away. And obviously you have to be guided by what's going on in your hip. So if your hip is not enjoying this, then it's going to be very gentle. You're going to have the knee much higher up. And then, yeah, you could just rest like this, or maybe lean in a little bit. Want to sort of go a bit lower, then go for it. And drop your hands towards the floor. So if you're wanting to do a bit of yoga homework, this sort of thing's really good because there's a massive range of what can be done, and with sort of daily practice, you'll notice a big change. So I'm going to come up in a moment. We're going to take that knee and we're just going to explore some rotations, and they may just be quite small, they may not be big. And then we are going to bring the foot down. So remember, you can pad up under the foot. So there's plenty, especially if you're finding that you're, either if it's difficult, pad up under the foot, or for me, it's just that my foot doesn't quite come that low. So you can also, and then we're aiming to take this back foot away. So I've taken my sitting bone right off the chair. And the knee, the other thing about this is you can kind of align, be a bit more careful about getting the alignment of the knee above the ankle. Because you've got the support there, it's a bit easier sometimes to notice these things. And really push back into that back foot, the left foot. Especially the outer edge of the heel. And if it's feeling a bit much, you can bend the back knee a little, and that should take a bit of pressure off. Or you can move in and out of straight and then bent leg, so that's quite good. Virabhadrasana, which means warrior pose. And then we want our torso ideally to be upright, so we're not leaning in like this over the front leg. We take our arms to shoulder height, turn the palms up, and the biceps should hopefully turn. And then we press the hands down, but try and keep that upright arm, upper arm. And light around the shoulders. Pressing down with the feet, but also sort of energetically pulling them towards each other. And yeah, it's very, very powerful. Well done. So you can come out. Bring your hands down first. Bring that back foot in and shuffle your feet forward. So, and then we'll take a forward bend. So you can actually we'll do it with eagle arms. I love eagle arms. So you're going to take your arms to shoulder height. Turn the palms up again. So you've got feeling of the bicep turning up. And drop the shoulders. And maybe a little squeezing together of the shoulder blades. And then we're going to take the left arm under the right. So you've got various options. You can have the hand, this is sort of easier, gentler option. That is a middle sort of range option. And then you can press the palms together with a sort of full eagle. And there's quite a lot going on, sort of tension, not tension, but pressing together and pulling apart in the arms. Shoulders down. So it's kind of working quite fair. Not holding it softly, it's definitely quite dynamic. Pressing together and pulling apart. And then you can kind of round your back a little bit. So you get this sort of shape. And then you can lift your elbows as well. You can lift the elbows up. And then slowly lower them in towards your navel and round your back. And then lift them. And lower them. And then from here, you've got options either to come completely down, dropping the body between the legs, or if you don't really feel like you want to go that low, then you can bring your knees together and rest your body, your torso on your knees. And there's no rush, so it's nice to sort of take a little bit of time. And if you press back a little bit towards into your sitting bones, then that will help you keep a nice sense of stretching and releasing in the lower back. And the weight of the arms just brings in and gives you a little bit more to sort of weight to drop you deeper. Then you can slowly come up. No rush. And release the arms. Big white circle. Oh, sorry, I am rushing you there, but do take your time. there's no rush. Pausing for a moment. So we'll do the opposite arm. So take the arms up to shoulder height. So to turn the palms up, see if you can turn the biceps as well. And just be mindful of what's going on in your shoulders, that you're not suddenly lifting up in the shoulders. And it's the right arm under the left. So you can do all of these, any of these options, hands on the shoulders, backs and palms together, or palms together. And find that, yeah, there's definitely if you think about an eagle, it's a power pose. It's definitely a power pose. It's not a sort of floaty kind of restorative shape that we're making. So really squeezing the arms together and then pulling them apart, and you can round your back a little bit, and it should feel really good across the upper back. Elbows can come in towards your navel. Drop your head. And slowly you can come up and maybe try lifting the elbows up. but dropping the shoulders. And then slowly coming down. So you can choose, you don't have to go very, very low. That doesn't feel like good. Or if you want to sort of come all the way towards the floor, then go for it. Try and press back into your sitting bones a little bit so that you've got that feeling of being anchored, and then hopefully you've got a bit more stretch and release in the lower back. And slowly come up. And release the hands. Just pausing for a little moment. So kind of stretching out the back body, and I really enjoy using the chair for doing little mini back arches. So for this, you want to sit. I'm just turning my chair because I want you to be able to see me, but you can. I think you can just stay as you are. I'm sitting, perching more towards the front of the chair, and the hands are coming behind me. Very firm tone on the belly. I'm pressing back into my hands, and then I'm going to lift my chest and quite exaggerated sort of rolling back up. You would never really sit like this, so it's quite an exaggerated movement. And then you could do that a few times. Try that movement from neutral spine to this more arching shape. And then the option, if you want to take it, is to the feet would be about hip width. You press into your feet, and you so you lift your chest, and then you lift your hips, and the hips can move towards your feet, and it feels. I love this. I think this feels great. Really work your hands and arms here to really push away. And the full sort of pose you'd normally do it from the floor, but you can get a really nice feeling from the chair. That works really well. So if you're not in the mood for the lifting, you can get a lot out of this by keeping your bum on the floor and chair and just experiment with lifting a little bit and come down. Great workout for the arms as well. When you lift up, what can happen sometimes is you can make it more of a workout for your glutes, and it's not wrong to work your glutes a bit, but you want to actually feel that the chest is lifting. So visualize something hoisting you up from the front of the chest. So there's a definite sort of back arching thing going on. Come down when you've had enough. If you're really enjoying this, by the way, I'll show you something, maybe not for everyone, but if you kind of feel like it feels quite good and you want to perhaps go a little bit more deeply, this is an option as well. So you can, again, lift your chest, roll your shoulders back, lift your bum off the chair, and then you can drop down a little bit, bum towards your heels. So you're making more, it's more like how you do it from the floor. A bit more strong, but quite nice. Get a little workout for your arms as well.
Fun to try these from the floor as well, and you'll get some comparison. The head can drop back, but just be gentle that you don't kind of just let it fall back. But it can feel really nice to get a stretch in the throat as well.
So yeah, have a little pause when you're ready to rest. And then I'll just show you you can do a vinyasa from a chair, which is quite fun. And it's definitely not, it's definitely a good alternative to doing it from the floor. So take your chair, if it's not already, bring it to the end of your mat so the seat of the chair is facing you. And then you're just going to bring your weight very firmly onto the chair through the hands. And we'll step into a plank. So obviously it's not quite like a plank, but it's a good substitute for a plank from the floor. Can you squeeze your thighs together? They're not going to touch, but squeeze them together. And then we're going to engage the abdominal muscles. So really, really sort of squeeze those muscles from the pubic bone up towards the sternum. So you're knitting them together, and then round your back a bit and see if you can intensify that feeling in the abdominals through the rounding of the back. I know it's not a traditional sort of shape for a plank, but. And then we're going to move back into downward dog, so you can flatten your feet to the floor, take your bum all the way back, press very firmly into the hands, into the chair with your hands, bend the knees, so you're going to press your tailbone back to the wall behind you. And we're going to move forward again into the plank. So you might want to step your feet back a little bit, find that plank shape. Again, sort of sense of squeezing the thighs together, feel those abdominals. You can round your back a little. It's quite upper back that we're rounding. So it's quite subtle. It's like a little cat shape, like a little mini cat. And then this time we're dropping into an upward dog. So we're going to keep the shoulders over the hips. We're dropping the shoulders over the hands, hips towards the seat of the chair. And I'm on the ball of my feet. So very, very strong tone on the belly. So the lower abdomen pulls up. And if you're feeling a pinching sensation, then just don't go quite so low, lift your hips. And then we'll come back to a downward dog. So that little sequence, they call it a vinyasa, and I think we all know, I'm sure most people know that just often you'll have those little vinyasas between a pose. So you'll do like a warrior, then you do a little vinyasa, then you'll do a warrior on the other side. And it's just a way of making the practice stronger. So you throw in a vinyasa. So we'll experiment with another with a balancing pose. So step your feet to the chair. This is Ardha Chandrasana. Ardha Chandrasana means half moon. And we're going to bring the right hand onto the, right arm. I'm just coming a bit closer so you can see me. Right arm onto or elbow actually, onto the chair. And the feet, we're going to keep the feet and the hips very steady for now. So it's a rotating chest pose. So we're going to take the other arm onto the top of the chair. We're turning. If you can't easily take hold of that other top of the chair, then you can also lift that arm
to the ceiling, or even wrap it around the waist. The important thing is the rotation of the chest. So we keep this, for now, we're keeping the legs very, very steady, squeezing the thighs together, even though they're not touching. So we can feel the chest turning. Press down through the right hand, right arm, and turn the elbow over the top arm. It's quite a powerful twist. So that's kind of the top half of the pose. And then you can lift the left leg. And then you come into a balance, Ardha Chandrasana. The toes of the back foot, the flying foot, turn away from the floor and out to the side, and the hip turns. So it's quite strong on the hips. So if you're feeling that your hips are not ready for that movement, you can bend the flying leg. It makes it a lot easier. Or just don't turn it quite so. Ardha Chandrasana. So you can do this without a chair, of course, but it's quite nice to have the chair and you can hold it a bit longer and really feel it out. Work on straightening the legs and keep that turning, chest turning. And then we're going to come smoothly, slowly down so that both feet back to the floor, both hands back to the chair. And this is where you get to do your vinyasa if you want to. So you can step back into a downward dog, and then into a plank, drop into an upward dog, and back to a downward dog. So if you want to do a little or a lot of that, if you're not in the mood, that's fine as well. So there's always the option. The nice thing about the vinyasa sequences is you can skip the vinyasa. You can just rest. So we'll do the other side. So when you've done your vinyasa, you can just step to the front of the chair. I'm just moving so I can see you. And we're going to bring the opposite elbow onto the chair. So I'm aware that if you've got very bony elbows, I do, you might want a bit padding under the arm. So if you can't easily hold the back of the chair, you can lift the arm towards the ceiling, or even better, I think, is to wrap the arm around the waist. And the thing that we want, really, the important thing, is to get the chest turning. So not letting the hips move around. Turn, turn, turn. Tone on the lower belly. Well, tone on the belly generally, but definitely pick up the lower belly. And then when you're ready, when you feel you've got that nice sort of rotation, you feel stable, lift the foot of the right foot. Right foot, yeah. It's quite intense, so for the hip. So sometimes it's nicer just to bend the knee if you're feeling like your hips not wanting that rotation. Or just don't go so far. And last week I was making you press into the outer thigh so that you've got a feeling of it, working that outer thigh. And that applies in this pose too. You don't have to press into the thigh with your hand, but you could visualize something that you're pressing against with your outer thigh. And then when you're ready, come back down to the floor. So if you feel like you want a more resting thing at this point, you can do a forward bend to the chair. So just bring your elbows onto the chair, bring your head down, bend your knees. But otherwise, you can step back into your downward dog, plank, upward dog. Back to downward dog. And then we'll just have a little rest. You can sit on your chair. So earlier we did a pose where we were
crossing one leg over the other. So we're going to revisit that. So when you're ready, let's start with the right leg. So again, you can gently press the hands around the joint. So we're not yanking it, but we can encourage it to move away a little bit. So this is just something to play with. So we're going to see if we can come a little bit lower so that the foot, and this is, just be curious and see where you can go with it. So you can kind of wrap the foot around the outer arm. Yeah, just see if that works. It might be completely out of the question, but you might enjoy trying. A little tip, if you're feeling like your arms are miles away from the floor, you could just have something, and it feels nice sometimes to have something to press into. So you could put books or something, and it's nice to just have something to press into. So maybe try that. Just a slightly stronger way of working this stretch, but there is a balance that we do in this pose. So you can, which I'm not saying you can do now, but you could lift your bum off the chair and you could bring your hands to the floor. Just have a little play with that. And if you, wherever you are with it, what you're going to be getting is a great release in the glutes and good for things like sciatica. Or it's supposed to be good for things like sciatica. I don't get sciatica, but it's often recommended, this sort of stretch. So we're going to come up and release the leg. Pausing for a moment. And we'll just take the other foot. So, hands around the knee. Coming a bit lower if you feel comfortable with that. And just, see. You can maybe drop the arm so that the foot hooks around the outer edge of the arm. Flex the foot as you do that. Kind of wrapping. And then want to lift your bum off the chair, you can do that. And then it's not quite, it is a balance, isn't it? Strange little balancing pose. Come down. Relax your leg back down to the floor. Now we use the belts. So we're going to pick up your belt in your right hand, and you're going to lift that arm up all the way towards the ceiling. And then you're going to bend the arm. So elbows, so hopefully you've got your elbows somewhere behind your head, or so you can kind of lean back a little bit. And then so there's two options. We'll start with the gentler one. So the gentler one is just to reach for the belt from the front of the body. And you can kind of pull down. So it's pretty intense for the shoulders, this. So it's normal to see the elbows more out to the side. So just that's not wrong at all. It's quite normal. But in time, you might find that the elbows do lift up. And then if you're quite happy, you can take a side bend.
Take time to breathe. So, to come up, and then there's the option of going a bit stronger. So that arm that you were gripping from the front of the body, you can bring it round and grip from the back of the body. And then you can pull up a little bit with the top arm and pull down with the bottom arm. It's amazing, amazing for the shoulders. And try and sit up. It's normal to sort of find that your head tips forward a bit, but try and resist it. So again, it's like not quite as, it's not the dynamic feeling that we have with the eagle arms, but there's still that feeling of resisting, sort of pulling in opposite directions. And then we're going to just drop the hands and the belt. So rest for a moment. We'll do the other side. Pick up the belt in the left hand. Really reach up to get the nice sort of releasing, opening around this part of the shoulder, this sort of lower part. And then going to bend the arm, and yeah, let's take the gentler version first. So you're holding the belt from the front body, and then you can do a little side bend if you're happy. And a little bit of core strength. Even in this pose, you can work to keep the even weight through your sitting bones, because your sitting bone, you're kind of easily, or very tempting, it's very tempting to kind of lift off that left sitting bone. Try and press back through the left sitting bone. And come up. You can take the belt from the back. And in time, you might, or even now, you might feel that you can just reach and bind with your hands. You don't need the belt. So feel free to do that if you prefer. Releasing. Just put the belt to one side, and again you can get that nice feeling in the hands, the sense of the life, the inner life of the hand, the subtle body, the pranic body. So I thought we'd have another look at warrior. We'll do it without the chair. So get you standing. So have a block. If you know that reaching to the floor is hard, have a block. And if you feel like you don't want to reach to the floor, then I'll give you the option of not having the floor, not touching the floor. If you're using a block, put it on the right side. So take your legs wide. I'm going to turn the right toes out, the left toes in. So if your hips are not happy with this shape, then just don't have the feet so wide, and then hopefully that's going to feel easier. But technically, the sort of full pose is for this right leg to be parallel with the floor, which I don't say that you need to do, but it's just something to be aware of. So if you feel like you want to go a bit stronger, then that's how you can go stronger, to lean into that front thigh. Press very strongly back into the left leg. And let's bring the right hand to the outer thigh on the right leg, and you can press into that hand. So that's going to help you rotate your thigh a little bit.
can also press into the outer thigh of the back leg. You can press back into the hand. Those thighs really hard, working hard, very hard working thighs. And then we'll take the arms up to shoulder height. Just make sure your torso's upright. Turn your palms up, turn your biceps up. Can you gently roll your shoulders back and down, even in this pose? And then palms down. Try and keep that nice lifty feeling in the upper arm. Looking a little over the fingers, off that right hand. And although the feet, obviously they're not going to be moving at this point, but can you energetically pull them towards each other? If that makes sense. So you're kind of squeezing down and together. So that's warrior 2. And then we'll try Uttita Parsvakonasana. So that's where you can bend your right arm and rest it on the bent knee. This is quite strong. And then the left arm, I'm going to bring it in front of the body to find the line from the back heel into that raised hand. So this is quite hard work. So feel free to sort of lessen the intensity if you want to by straightening up the legs or coming back out, standing. However, if you want to come low onto that block or to the floor, then you can try that option as well. So you've got options here. So the hand, I suggest or recommend having something under the hand, but it depends how long your arms are. You might find you don't need it. And the knee presses into the arm and the arm presses into the knee. And then the other arm, that long line. So you don't have to go that far. You could still be on the knee, the bent knee. And then, yeah, it's quite hard work holding this. So you get to rest now. You get to come out so you can press the front leg straight, turn the toes back towards the centre. We'll just shuffle the feet in a little and pause here. Take a mountain pose. So mountain pose is just a sort of classic standing pose where you're we'll keep the feet a little bit apart, a little bit of softness in the knee, shifting the weight more onto the ball of the foot. You're not lifting your heels, but the weight does shift a little bit. So there's a softness. Whereas if you're rigidly sending the weight down into your heels, quite different dynamic. A bit bouncier when you're on the front of the feet. And then we're going to go the other way. So take your wide stride. If you're using blocks, move them to the other end of the mat. And turn the left toes out, turn the right toes in. We're dropping down again into this Virabhadrasana. Hands can come to the outer thigh, so you can engage the outer thighs. And remember, if you want to go, you've got options for lessening intensity or increasing it. So stronger options to drop in more to the front thigh. So the front thigh goes parallel with the floor. The lesser intensity is just to straighten up that front leg. You don't always have to go for the optimum stretch. The optimum stretch may be the lesser, or not. It's not a stretch. It's more of a workout, isn't it? But and then the arms shoulder height, arms up. Biceps up, looking over the middle finger of the left hand and pulling your feet back towards each other. Make it a bit more dynamic. So from here you can move into your Parsvakonasana where your elbow rests on the knee. The other arm comes. Sort of swing the arm in front of the body to find that line. hips a little more? Can you reach up a little with that raised hand and feel the stretch move into the waist, to the side waist? So that might be enough. If you want to go a little deeper, then you can take your hand down to the floor, which I know is quite a deep stretch. I find this hard work, so if you're going for that option, see if you can squeeze the knee into the arm and then press the arm back into the knee. You get to come out when you need to. So if you're ready to come out, do come out now. If you feel like you'd like to hold it a bit longer, that's fine. And then, quite hard work, isn't it? So stepping the feet back together. We're going to come into a squat. If your hips feel that squatting feels a bit much, then you can either sit on something, so that it's a low squat. You could have your bum on, sitting on something, or sit on the floor. Or just hovering your feet. And by the way, it's really normal not to have your heels down. So don't think you're failing if your heels aren't on the floor. It's normal. It's very normal. Maybe one day they'll come down, but it doesn't really matter. So try to relax the lower back. So if your hips find this harder, then maybe just bring the knees a bit closer together. And really drop the weight. Just sinking down, very earthy pose. Connecting with the breath again. Maybe you can lift your toes and stretch them, spread them, bring them down again. We are going to come right down onto our bums. We'll just finish with we'll do a little a forward bend. So there's two versions I can give you. So one is where we bend the left knee and we have the left knee out to the side and the foot into the thigh of the opposite leg. If your hips need support or your knees need support, put something under the knee. The other option is where you cross that bent leg over the straight leg and line up the knees. So it's a bit stronger. It's a little bit stronger, but in a way it's easier on the hips in the sense that you're not getting that big rotation. So quite like this. For me, this feels like a very, very satisfying forward bend. So I'm very fond of the crossed leg version. So we'll sit up a little bit first. Sit back into the sitting bones. Roll your shoulders back and down. And then you can come forward, and it may be very, very little amount of movement. And it's there's the idea of the gross body and the subtle body. And we tend to operate more in the realm of the gross body and less conscious of the subtle body. But these sort of poses, lovely way to connect with your subtler body. Listening, close your eyes, listen to your breath. Feel all the tissues responding. these sort of stretches, usually you'll have little waves of intensity that come up, as you know, I'm sure. So just the breath can help you move through those slightly more intense phases, breathing into it. We're going to come up and we'll just swap legs. So, and by the way, with the forward bends, it's always okay to bend the knees. So, or even pad up under the knees. If you're, even for the straight leg, put some cushion under it. If you feel like it's just not feeling quite right, you've got an injury or something. So sit up first of all, roll the shoulders back and down, and gently moving forward. So it might be that you don't go very far. Coming up, ready. So we'll finish with just a very gentle side stretch. So you get to lie down on your side. Probably because we'll come from that to Shavasana. So do get whatever you want to use for Shavasana, a blanket or eye cushion or a little dab of essential oil. And then you're just going to rest on your side, something under the head, so that the arm that you're lying on is going to be pressed into the floor in front of you. And then the other arm just going to rest over the ear, resting on the head, and you can, hopefully that's going to work for all of your shoulders. So we did quite a lot of shoulder stuff, and this is just a much more restorative version of what we were doing in a more dynamic way. Try and really drop the weight of the head, because I noticed when I was doing this earlier that I was holding my head even though I had something under it. I'm keeping a little bit of a bend in my knees. And this is going to be opening up the intercostals, the lungs. Very relaxing, I hope. And then we'll move from this into a little twist. So you're going to let the arm lift towards the ceiling, and you can lower it. And depending on how your shoulders are, it could be more down towards the waist and rest it on the floor there, or back behind you, so more shoulder height. Again, rest the head. The head can turn a little bit towards the ceiling. Very much of restorative sort of resting pose. And we'll come out in a moment. And just to do the other side. So just to do that, you just want to roll your arm back towards the floor and go the other way. Really, we're not going to do any breathing techniques as such, but just be aware of your breath. Or even be aware of the body breathing. Just gently opening up the ribs, the intercostals, the lungs. Make sure that you are letting your head rest. And not sneakily holding onto your head. And you can help that by sort of relaxing the jaw and let the tongue fill them out. And then when you're ready, we can move into that very gentle twist. So just lifting the arm towards the ceiling and bringing it back. You just float back. It doesn't have to be the big full twist. It doesn't have to be out shoulder height. It could just go back towards the waist, towards the bum. Enjoy this time. And then from here, you can just roll. When you're ready, just roll into Shavasana. So you're just rolling back onto your back. Make whatever adjustments you need, which might be something under the knees, something under the head. Something over the eyes. And your challenge is just to completely drop your weight, completely let go. And it does take a bit of time sometimes, but hopefully I've set you up for that. No holding around the hands or the jaw or the shoulders. Maybe an old injury, sometimes we hold around old injuries. And letting the body be as heavy and floppy.
corpse pose, so you can literally be a dead weight. Generally sort of more focused on the body, but of course thoughts do pop up. Sometimes we hold on to thoughts as well, like worry, persistent worry or doubt. So just, if you can, letting that pass too. We talk about, I was reading a little bit about Shavasana being like the death of the ego as well, so nothing to prove or produce or to do in this moment. Maybe when you really have that sense of dropping your weight, maybe there's a bit of lightness that comes, sense of floating. Sense of the subtle body. Pulsing of life. You can dissolve into that sense of the pulse, the vibration, the inner rhythm. So if you're ready, you can bring some small movements back into the body. If you're not quite ready, then just rest for longer. The pressure to come back. Roll onto your side when you're ready. come up to sitting. So we're going to do a little a breathing where we pause. So we'll just breathe and then we're going to take a little pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. It's quite subtle. And yeah, just sit with that pause for a moment and then move into the out-breath and pause. Just a slightly different technique. The thing that you don't want is for you to feel like you're gasping for breath. So just bear in mind that all these things are techniques that shouldn't leave you strained or, just it's improving your energy and sense of peace rather than moving you into a sort of sense of being straining. So just keep that in mind beyond anything else. So just breathing in, take a little pause, and breathing out. And have a little pause. And breathing in. So we're all going to have a slightly different rhythm. I'm not going to count you through this. So just close your eyes if that helps you. And take a few breaths like this. In and out through the nose. And the only other thing is, ideally that out breath is a little bit longer than the in breath. So just you can linger a little bit on your out breath. And then completely relax your breath. So we're not going to try at all with the breath. We'll bring the thumb and the forefinger together and just sit for a little moment. And again, it's sort of tuning into that subtle quality, light sensation of the thumb and the forefinger pressing together. We'll finish with the palms together. And you can just rest your thumbs up against your forehead, your third eye. Thank you very much, everyone. Very nice to see you all. Hope you're all okay. The birds were making such a noise, weren't they? Did you hear them? I could hear the wood pigeons just really going for it there. So yeah, have a nice evening, everyone. And hope you get to enjoy some more of this lovely summer. Is everyone okay?
Yeah, fine. Thank you, Heidi. That was lovely.
Great. Well, very nice to see you. And if you ever have questions, by the way, do feel free to drop me a line or have a chat.
That's fine. I won't be here next week. We're going away for a few days.
Oh, nice. Where are you off to anyway?
Off to the Lake District to do some walking.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it won't be quite as hot. Definitely a bit hot for walking up hills at the moment.
I can imagine. Yeah. Although so often there is a little breeze, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Mhm.
Well, fantastic time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hope you get good weather nonetheless.
Yes, no rain, but not so hot. Right. Thanks a lot, Heidi. Bye-bye.
Bye, Rupert.
Hi, Heidi. Could I just ask two really quick questions?
Yeah, of course. Please do.
One's sort of a bit more specific, one's a bit more general. The specific one is, I don't know if you've noticed, but I feel in some of the poses that the range of motion in my shoulders is really limited.
Yeah.
And particularly when we're kind of going over in those sorts of poses, I just can't get it over. It goes out.
Painful.
No, it's not painful at all, but it just doesn't feel like it just doesn't go.
Yeah.
Just wondering if maybe the answer is what we were doing with the belt this evening. Is there any sort of exercises you think I could practice?
It's really, really normal. I wouldn't see that as being a fault or anything of yours or anything like that. I think it's just not a lot of those arm poses are incredibly difficult, you know. Are you talking like the one where we were like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they are really hard. It's normal that I see someone arm more like that.
I mean, mine goes out to the front, sort of in my face. It just doesn't go over at all. That's basically as far as it goes. It goes vertical, no more.
Okay, I'm going to have a think. Did you feel the belt was quite good?
Yeah, no, I was thinking as we were doing that, I was thinking about whether that could be the answer, you know, just doing that regularly, and maybe that will increase the range.
I mean, I kind of expect, so what I see is that people come and it's normal a little bit. So I think it will improve. I think, especially if there's no pain, I would be concerned if you were getting pain.
Yeah, no, there's no pain, but it just feels like it literally feels like I just don't have that ability, you know, to move it like that. So I'm just curious as to what it is about me that they just can't get it at all over the heads, basically.
I felt like your when you came for shiatsu, I felt that was a bit of an issue, wasn't it? The upper back. So I kind of am not surprised. I'm actually not that surprised. Yeah, I'm just thinking.
Is it a bit of is it tension? Maybe has it been tense for a long time?
The thing, and I didn't do any back archings with you today. Well, actually, we did do some back arching. I mean, I think back arching is really, really effective for opening up. So there's too much holding, I think, too much holding. But it's unconscious, I'm sure, and I think it.
You mean when you say back arching, do you mean upward facing dog style or downward?
I would go more restorative. So like something like. You recommended the bolster with a block, but you could have something more comfortable. So that you know when we were doing that thing where we were lying on our side, how did that feel?
Yeah, that was really nice actually. Yeah, that was really nice. Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's basically it's kind of the same shape, isn't it?
Mm.
But you're not having to do it. So it's the doing it that's the problem. It seems like.
Yeah.
If you do it that way, so there's something about some muscle impingement more than an actual mechanical inability. Would you say?
I don't know. It's just like a wall. It's like just like a movement I don't have, sort of thing. And I'm not sure if it is a muscle or whether it's just the joint, or even if it's maybe something.
If you lie on your side like that, then it's the same movement, isn't it?
But I mean, that's that, isn't it? Essentially, it's in line with my body. Whereas when we're in the standing poses, and I'm trying to put it over, it just doesn't. I feel that's more of it. It's slightly different. Maybe it's not even the shoulders. Maybe it's a bad question. Maybe it's more.
It's not a bad question. I'm just.
Maybe it's down the ribs a bit more.
Would you mind showing me from the standing?
Yeah.
Quite good to see.
I was looking at because I got the light on yoga. That was really good recommendation. And just working just some of the poses, doing them. And I was trying to look up the name of the one in particular that I was struggling with.
It's called Utthita Parshvakonasana. Let me just get my book as well.
Exactly the one, yeah, number 5, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it is a really, really hard pose. Last week, I actually felt quite concerned. I felt like I'd worked everyone rather too hard. That's why I did the chair stuff today. So I thought, how did you find the chair stuff, by the way?
Yeah, it was nice. I was a bit worried because I had my other chair like that broke with me sitting on it, so that was going through my mind a little bit that it was going to snap.
Oh no, sorry. I should have thought that not everyone necessarily has chairs.
But no, it's interesting. It's that's why it's good coming to the classes, because I do things that I wouldn't do on my own.
Yeah, I find using chairs a very good way to work. So yeah, do you mind showing me?
Yeah. So yeah, it was number 5 that I was meaning.
Is it just one arm or both arms, by the way?
Both arms. Yeah. So that's.
So yeah, so it doesn't come up over the ear.
Yeah, it doesn't go any further than that. It would just still stay vertical.
Yeah.
There's an invisible wall there.
So I think, I don't know. Have a look. Have a try this. So you're trying to go that way. I'm just going to move my thing back. So I try and teach it. I think that's a very hard way to do it, that way. So try coming this way. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels good, but I feel, as you can see, that my arms sort of.
I can see. Yeah.
It just goes out to an angle. It's out there.
Yeah. Now bend the arm and try and move the elbow up. So forget about having a straight arm. How does that work? It looks like your upper arm is moving over a bit more.
It is a bit more, yeah. It does. It just feels like there's that blocking thing there somehow.
So I think it's the weight of the arm that's the problem. I mean, not to say you've got weirdly heavy arms or anything, but I think for that movement at the moment that you need to lessen the weight of the arm. So it's not that the arm's beyond taking that movement. I think it's just the weight of the foot. So if you bend the elbow, you can get some. So if you bend the elbow, you're going to find some more movement, which is very normal. Often I tell people to bend their elbows because they can't do the full thing. So I think, I suspect it's just the muscle is a little bit overworked and impinging the full. Have you had? I'm sorry, I can't recall now. Did you have an injury in your?
No.
Just yeah. So practicing things like sitting like this and gently lifting one arm, that would be a good preparation.
So just sort of a little bit more.
Don't even attempt to go for the full. So just take the hand behind the head and then turn the chest a little bit. See how that feels.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that feel okay?
Yeah, no, it feels nice. Yeah.
And then you'll build it up. You're kind of wanting to, and in time I think it will come. And try that way.
Okay.
I think this guy teaches it that you do it that way anyway.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Have you got this one?
I think I've got an earlier edition. No, sorry, I didn't get it.
This is Darren Rhodes. I've got the other guy, your guy as well, but I'm just using this one at the moment because I find it, I don't know, it's quite good. But the Iyengar is really good as well.
Yeah, I know it's a bit more old school, but I like it. It's really good.
I mean, you can't go wrong with his. I mean, I think the thing is that some of his claims perhaps are a little bit dubious.
Okay. But it was great. It was what I was looking for because he talks a lot about diet and lots of things around it. So it's exactly the sort of book I was after. So it's great.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'll have to get, you know what, I haven't looked at my copy for ages, and in fact it's in storage, so yeah, I need to get hold of it. Yeah, it's good to, you're not going to go wrong with that book.
No, it's brilliant. Thanks for the recommendation. But yeah, sorry to take up so much time, but the other quick question I had was, maybe the two things are related, but I feel in some of the poses, there's kind of a fine line having a strong pose and being a bit tense.
Yes,
You want the strength, you don't want the tension. And I feel, I don't know if you've noticed it on the camera, but my shoulders are just routinely, popping up. And I do self-correct a lot, but I was just wondering if there's anything I could do. I feel like I'm too tense a lot of the time.
Yeah, and actually that class, I did try and make it a little bit more shoulder awareness, but I know what you mean. This is a massive thing in yoga, but I think if you're already aware of it, that's a massive step forward. I think that the solution is to take a lesser intense version of the pose. So can you give me an example of one that you feel it? Upward dog maybe is a good example, I think. For a lot of
Yeah. It's probably, I'll be holding it for, I don't know, a while, and then I'll suddenly realize the shoulders are tense, but they've been like that for, quite a long time. And I started thinking, I noticed it that time, but there must be loads of times that I don't notice it, and I'm just always quite tense.
I know what you mean, and I think certain styles of yoga kind of rush you, and then you just end up adding more and more tension in. Yeah. Let me think what I can suggest. So with upward dog, so I mean, obviously we did it from a chair today, so I didn't really give you too many options but you can come lower, come in more of a foot cobra. So come onto your forearms, it's still a strong pose actually, but it's less intense for the shoulders, or like that.
Okay.
That's amazing. Actually, at the moment, I prefer this to upward dog. I think because you really have to pull your shoulders back. So sometimes the solution is actually, which I didn't really give you that option tonight because we were doing the chair. Did you find it hard for the chair? More tension?
I do. Probably my chair is quite low, and I'm quite tall, so I think it wasn't the ideal chair for but that was just me. That's my fault.
So I'm just going to do a downward dog from a chair, so I can think of some suggestions. So bend your knees, and then there's less intensity in the lower body, and then you can kind of roll I think it's easier to then roll the shoulders back. Whereas if you're all poker straight, it's just a lot harder. Then there's no give in the body. You know what I mean? So that bringing softness into, maybe not, obviously you can't. That's the knees, aren't the shoulders. I think upward dog is. I was learning this week that some people don't even like teaching upward dog because there's so much potential for tension. Bending the elbows a bit. I get it. I mean, I really understand what you're describing, because I think I would say the best thing you can do, to be honest, is to come into more of a cobra.
Okay.
Just not come up quite so high, and really work on the shoulders. And really pull the shoulders back and down, and squeeze the shoulder blades together, and make it more about that. So it's a different thing you're doing. But I think you'll get a lot of that more restorative practices. So
the downward facing dog would sort of almost build up tension if you've got tension anyway, or?
Yeah, I think it can. Let me think. There's an elbow dog as well that can be quite good. You can try that. I don't know. Have a go. See if that does. It's really
really difficult, the shoulder tension thing. Well, the next time you come, if you let me know before you're coming, because I must admit I didn't check my thing today, I'll try and do a proper shoulder session because it's good for me. I mean, to be honest, everyone benefits.
Yeah.
How do you find about using? Well, there was one time where I got you to hold your arm from. I know that's not instantly going to be a fix for tension in the shoulders, but it's a way of sort of helping you to correct the
Yeah.
You're sitting at a desk quite a lot.
Not much. Well, I am, but I take lots of breaks, so it's not. I don't think it's that.
So what do you think might have built it up, or just is it habitual?
I think it's just habit. I think every time you say it or I remember it, I drop them and it disappears. So I feel it's almost more like a mental thing than a physical thing. It's just how can I get into the habit of always having them not tense.
Yeah, I know. It's a really common. Yeah. I mean, I do love. I'll show you. I think this is amazing. You might think, well, what's it doing for your shoulders? But hopefully I can demonstrate. So you have it propped into the upper back, and then the head comes down, and what it does is everything kind of drops. You can have this
that's
was
nice.
too much, I think, for you. Maybe get on with it, so you could have them out like that.
Yeah, that looks like a good one.
And you're kind of really, this is probably too high, that option. So you start with a lower. Do you have something you can use?
I haven't invested in a bolster yet, but I've got a cushion.
Show me what you've got. You could roll it up in your yoga mat.
I've got a cushion.
Have you got a rug or a blanket you could roll it up in?
Yeah, I've got a blanket I could roll up. Yeah.
So you could roll it. I'll just get my blanket and I'll show you what I do. This is a bit fat, but it's still quite nice. It's quite good to have something quite firm. See, this is actually a rug. It's not even a blanket. So I don't know if you can see that my shoulders, gravity is dropping them down, and because my chest is lifted, and that is very. Just feels. You need to spend a little bit of time here, but it feels really, really releasing for the shoulders.
How long would you stay in that pose?
Well, try for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Put a nice piece of music on or something. I do really think that is a good.
Okay, I'll try that one.
And if you enjoy the one where you're lying on your side, a couple of minutes either side, because that's the same kind of shape that you're making. It's just not. You're not having to hold the weight of the arm. That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean those two are very, as you said, restorative. So it could be nice sort of yoga nidra things before bed. Quite relaxing.
Yeah, you're doing some yoga nidra then.
Yeah, I love. I actually do some sun salutations before bed. I just find it such a nice way to go to bed because it makes me sleep like a baby, and then I sort of wake up feeling almost sort of quite loose and good, not stiff in the morning. So just doing some stretches for half an hour before bed is great. But it's actually more dynamic, not really intense, but it's more movement just to get that. So I tend to have been sitting down a lot just before that. So it's just nice to have half an hour of movement before bed, I find.
So when you're doing your sun salutations, have you got your arms up like that?
Yeah.
So you could soften the arms so that they're more like, you know, a bend in the elbows, and then maybe, or even W shape, so that the elbows come down, and then
That's rigid, isn't it?
that will really bring your shoulders. So you could just add that as an alternative to the, you know, because that is just pretty intense for the boosh. If you've already got tension in your shoulders, so you could do that. Try that for like a week. You're doing it every day.
Yeah, pretty much every day. But I'll work that. Yeah, I'll figure something out to put under my upper back, and I'll work that into it.
Yeah, I really feel that it's amazing that Iyengar in the later years, not in that book, but in his later years, was a huge fan of props. So all the stuff with the chair, that's all Iyengar.
Okay.
I mean, it's not all Iyengar, but it's a little bit of stuff that I kind of made up. But a lot of it is Iyengar, and so he was a massive fan of using props, because after a while he realised that what bodies can. So that's what you also have to bear in mind. That Pajvakonasana is just, you know, it's a very, very strong pose. And in fact, I don't teach that one from the floor very often, because I'm just doing it at the moment because I just feel like it's quite nice to give people a little bit of a challenge and explore doing something a bit more challenging, you know, because you can otherwise you can be in people's comfort zones all the time. But yeah, I'll have to look up his. Let me just. I've got another book. I'll just check.
Yeah.
See what she says about shoulders. But definitely try the option of not lifting your arms quite so high, or at least having a bend in the elbows when you're doing sun salutations.
Yeah.
And then that can help you re-educate your shoulders. Because otherwise, when you go, it's hard if you're coming from a place of tension already, and sometimes yoga can take you more into it. You know, if you're so yeah. I can't see what she says about shoulders. She must have something on shoulders.
There's something. The Alexander technique's probably got something to say about it as well. You know, just that kind of constant release. Maybe look into that.
Yeah, have you been doing Alexander technique?
I've dabbled with it through. There's a sort of it dovetails with swimming. This is sort of a swimming technique, which is which uses the Alexander method. So I've come across it, but I've not really done a deep dive into it.
It's very interesting. I started doing it. I was going every week to learn about it. I mean, it's changed my teaching a lot, actually. Not to say that I'm an Alexander technique person, but I'm really conscious of how you can end up just. I think he's always talking about adding intention, you know, that doesn't need to be there, and it's
Well, I'll go away and practice those tips that you've given me. Those are very helpful.
I'm going to read up a little bit more and let you know. I'll email you.
Okay, great. Yeah, just if anything came to mind.
Did you feel that shiatsu helped with your shoulders at all?
It was yeah. I mean, definitely it helped. So it felt really relaxed after it, and sort of good, you know, rejuvenated after it. Over the whole body, because it was a whole body thing.
Yeah.
But that, I guess that does include the shoulders as well. But
it wasn't.
It's a habitual thing. I was just wondering if there's any sort of techniques of, I don't know, maybe. I mean, I love the thing of you taught us the other week of you know, when you're in the downward facing dog, checking in with your breath with the legs.
Oh yeah.
That's really helpful. So I do that every time now. So I'm just wondering if there's little sort of check-in techniques, maybe.
Yeah, I'll think. You know what? I'll think about it. One little thing that I really like for the tops of the shoulders is just make a very loose fist. This is more of a shiatsu thing. You make a very loose fist with the opposite hand, and you just whack the top of the shoulder, which I know isn't, probably looks a bit brutal, but I find it really good.
Yeah, you see Chinese people doing that in the mornings. They sort of whack their.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called douyin. This is a large pot. We used to go around thumping each other when we were doing our training.
All right.
The other side.
Yes, guys.
There's points in the hand for so that kind of, because I don't think with you it's an injury. It is just a habit. So there's a large intestine point on the hand. So if you bring the thumb and the forefinger together, you'll see there's a little mound on the top of the hand. Press into that. So that's like a letting go point. I mean, often it's used for digestion. It's also habitual holding in the body. So so you could work that as well.
Okay.
Exactly a yoga technique, but
The reflexology.
I often teach it when I'm doing, because I think it's such a common thing that you get into that whipping state. But yeah, have a think. It's good. Thanks for bringing the questions up. I always like having things to.
Thanks for your answers. It's I'll definitely do those things this week and let you know.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So in your sun salutations, do you always do an upward dog?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, you just feel that, it just feels so nice, and it's part of it, isn't it? It's just a natural movement.
It's nice. It is very nice. But just try a cobra. Instead, I know what you mean. So instead of, I'm just trying to think how you do it. You come from a downward dog into a plank.
Yeah.
So you come. So then just come all the way down.
From there, I go into a cobra.
Drop your head. And really think about, make it like a therapeutic thing for the shoulders. I've got my hands forward, so you're supposed to have your hands back. You can also do this as well. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And then you can move into, maybe just give the upward dog a complete break. Just try it. Yeah, just see for the next week.
Okay. Brilliant.
Come back to upward dogs.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. I think it's not. It's just a very normal, unfortunately, thing that I see a lot.
Okay. Well, even this conversation, just talking about it helps, because then it'll make me more mindful about it. That's all very, very helpful. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your tips.
Oh, you're totally welcome.
All right.
You're going swimming now.
Sorry.
You're going swimming now.
I went before. It's weird. I was reflecting why I love doing yoga after swimming. It's such a nice feeling. So I tried whenever I can to go swimming just before doing yoga. So no, that's done for the day.
I tried to go out earlier, but I just didn't have quite enough time. I cycled to the beach, but I just realised that I was going to be late for class.
It's 18 degrees in the river at the moment, so it's almost the same temperature as the swimming pool. So it's pretty warm.
Are you swimming down in Balmerino or Wilmot Bay or?
Sometimes go to Woodhaven, the pier there. There's a bit there at high tides. And if they've got time, go down to the beach near Tentsmuir. I also just go to the pool quite a lot, so I train in the pool.
Yeah. I went to King's Barnes the other day. That was nice.
That's a nice spot. Yeah.
Crail was nice. I've been swimming all over the place. It's been so nice, isn't it?
That's beautiful. Yeah, such a nice time of year to do it.
Yeah. Well, I have a think. Thank you for your questions. Please do feel free to ask questions. I always try and encourage people to, but I think people are a bit shy. So.
Thanks for your answers.
You're welcome.
Anyway.
Well, have a lovely evening.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy the sunset. It's looking nice.
Yeah. Take care.
Thanks, Heidi. Bye-bye.